Welcome to the One Life podcast with Behka White. I am your host, and this is episode 16, Roots. Growing up in Washington State, my backyard was a green, mossy wonderland. Behind our house, we had undeveloped land, which provided acres and acres of uninterrupted adventures. There was a natural spring which created a creek and a small pool where we caught buckets of frogs and then let them go. On the bank of this small spring was a large and ancient maple tree. It must have been 100 feet tall. I remember standing at the base and looking up and not being able to see where it ended and where the other trees began in our forest of pines and maples and cottonwoods. I couldn't reach my arms around its moss-covered trunk. Several years after I left home, my parents sent a picture of the tree after a huge windstorm. This grand tree had fallen over and taken several smaller ones with it. It completely reshaped the creek and the pool. Now it was a tangled mess of roots and mud, and with everything exposed, it was evident that the tree, grown on the bank of a constant water source, had not had to reach its roots deep enough into the ground to stand against the force of the wind. It was a sad day to lose my favorite tree. We can learn a lot from nature. As this relates to us, how do we grow our roots deep enough to stand against the storms of life? Most obviously, if we're trying to grow roots, let's not set ourselves up for a life of ease on the banks of a constant water source. As fantastic as this sounds, it doesn't serve us in the long run. Beyond this, a whole conversation on the factors of resilience awaits, a topic which I find fascinating and I could talk about for days. However, today I want to share just one factor of resilience. According to Harvard's Center on the Developing Child, what would you guess would be the most important factor of resilience? As a side note, I'm using Harvard's Center on the Developing Child, first of all, to help us understand what the children in our lives need, and second of all, because aren't we all a developing child in some aspect? And so here it is. Quote, the single most common factor for children who develop resilience is at least one stable and committed relationship with a supportive parent, caregiver, or other adult, end quote. Why? Why would this be the factor that would help support children the best? The quote goes on to say this, quote, these relationships provide the personalized responsiveness, scaffolding, and protection that buffer children from developmental disruption. They also build key capacities, such as the ability to plan, monitor, and regulate behavior that ensure children to respond adaptively to adversity and thrive, end quote. This is the number one factor in a child being able to take toxic stress and reduce it to manageable stress. The implication for us is first to be the adult the children in our lives need. It does not say a perfect adult. It says stable, committed, and supportive. These are gifts we can give to our children and to the children we have responsibility for. Second, as I've considered this, for those who are no longer children, I see the value of human connection to someone who has gone before and can offer guidance and support through difficulty. It is called mentorship, and it is modeled in many ways. In 12-step recovery programs, the new members are encouraged to choose a sponsor, someone they can lean on to support them on their journey to sobriety. Those who serve as sponsors are recovering addicts who have completed the program and have a measure of sobriety. Grief groups are led by people who have lost loved ones. Young mothers call their mom for support. Students train in internships. When we visit a new place, we employ a tour guide. Life is meant to be experienced connected to other humans. So, when you are going through a difficult time, don't struggle in silence. Reach out, get help, find a mentor. And just as importantly, each one of us has unique life experiences that have taught us invaluable lessons of perseverance and coping that other people need. And I have found for my own traumas, my true healing has come as I have helped others through similar experiences. Of course, the greatest mentor of all can be found in Jesus Christ, who came to earth to overcome every ill of humanity and even death, to be the way that we can do the same. So to restate Harvard's Center on the Developing Child quote, The single most common factor for children who develop resilience is at least one stable and committed relationship with a supportive parent, caregiver, or other adult, end quote. The invitation today is this: find a mentor. There are people who have overcome what you are trying to overcome and figured out how to be where you want to be. Find them. And then also be a mentor. There are people struggling with the same challenges that you have overcome and are looking for support and encouragement that you can offer. We are human. We are meant to travel through this life connected to other humans in the beautiful web of shared, messy, complex, suffering and compassion and beauty called life. Connected to the web of humanity, we can all have roots deep enough to stand against the mighty storms of life. We only get one life. Let's make it our best.